If you clicked on this video, you most likely are looking for advice on how to show up as a more engaged and authentic, captivating speaker. But what does it mean to truly show up as your authentic self? How can you show up in a way that doesn't feel fake, phony, or forced? How can you be like those people that you see on TV or those speakers that you've met that truly inspire you? Well, it's not just about speaking with confidence or speaking really clearly so that everyone can understand you, although that is very important. Showing up as an authentic speaker is about resonating with your audience on a deeper level, creating a more genuine connection, and conveying your message in a way that feels true to who you are and what you care about. In this video, we are going to break down some practical strategies that you can use to enhance your delivery, tap into your unique voice, and better emotionally connect with the people that you are trying to reach. Let's begin by centering why it is important that you approach the way that you show up and deliver your message in a new way. If you show up in front of an audience coming across as forced, fake, phony, over-rehearsed, it can lead to things like a lack of trust, boredom, miscommunication, or missing the message altogether. It can lead to a negative reputation of you, of what you represent, of your company, of your job title, of your experience, of your business that you're trying to market, of the product that you're trying to sell. And when you walk away from a situation feeling like you didn't connect and that the message wasn't received, like things didn't go the way that you were hoping that they would, it is such a disheartening, draining feeling. And it can lead to this negative cycle that feeds itself. Because when you leave feeling not good about yourself, it's easy to then be overly critical. You are your worst enemy, your own worst critic. And it leads to a lack of confidence. Then you tend to overthink everything, or you shy away from doing these things in the future, from taking more opportunities to speak in front of others, to pitch. Maybe you don't even have a choice, right? It's just part of your job. It's part of what you have to do. But now you're going to go into each situation feeling that pressure of like having to make up for what you did the last time. And that negative cycle weighs very heavily on your mental health, on your heart, and it sucks all of the joy and the fun and the energy and the life that you can tap into. It happens to all of us. We don't always have perfect presentations. We don't sound or look as good as we want to all the time. But this is something you can work on. If you are someone who tends to find yourself in a position of like really boring presentations, things are just not hitting, the message isn't landing. When you start to shift the way that you approach public speaking, then everything just kind of falls into place. It might not always go like super 100% perfect every single time, but you are at least going to walk away feeling like you showed up as yourself, you stayed true to who you are and what you stand for, and you know that you gave it your best. I've said this so many times. You can't always control how other people receive you, but you can control how you show up, or you can at least try, okay? And this is all part of that process. So the number one thing that you want to work on or try to avoid is to stop trying to fake it till you make it. Now, this is something that everybody throws out there, like just fake it till you make it, because they hyper focus on things like confidence. You have to show up really confident. In order to be a good public speaker, you have to show up with confidence. But how can you feel confident when you're not connected to what you have to say? So step number one is going to be start caring more about what you have to say and why you are saying it in the first place. If you care about your message and you truly care about people hearing you and about people understanding and receiving the message, you are going to do everything in your power to make sure that your voice is being heard, that your message is understood, and that people are paying attention. If there is a disconnect between how you feel about what you have to say, there is going to be a disconnect with how people receive what you have to say. In order to bridge that gap, you have to start caring and believing in what you have to say. Maybe the words that you are pitching or presenting are not your own. And again, you have no control over it. It's part of your job. You have to pitch something. It's not your idea, but it's part of your job. If you don't truly believe in what you are selling, if you don't believe in the product itself, if you don't believe in the solutions, or you don't believe that you're capable of getting the job done, that is going to come through and you are going to be so easy to see through. Unfortunately, that's just the reality. Again, we have all been in a position where we've had to do things that we don't want to do or we don't believe in 100%. And you start to play this game of like, how can I fake it? How can I convince them that I care and that they should care, essentially? Not so much that I care, but that they should care. You can very easily turn into a sleazy salesman. And that is something we are trying to avoid. I am not condoning that. If you don't care about it, you shouldn't be doing it. If you are not invested in it, it's not for you. And if you are going to stick it out, it's just going to be that much harder to convince other people when you can't even convince yourself. So you might want to ask yourself, like, is this something I'm truly able to commit myself to and back up 100%? Because the moment you start to care more, then you will creatively find ways to show up in front of other people to get them to care as well. Now, once you've established why you should care, that you should care, and you get more in touch with your emotions, you start to reignite your drive and your passion, you get your mojo back. Once you've established your side of it, I want you to then think about the audience's perspective. Where is their mind at when you are showing up in front of them? What are their concerns? What are the problems that they're facing that you are trying to solve? What have they gone through that led them to this moment? So let's use social media. Think about the journey that those people are taking in order to get to a place where they finally see your content. What situations do they have going on in their life? What obstacles have they been facing? Which then prompted them to search for a solution, a service, a person, a product. What journey did they take? And then what are the things that they're looking for? What's the kind of content that's going to speak to them where they are at? This type of thinking really gets the gears going and helps you to narrow down your focus so that when it's time to deliver the message, you can put yourself in their shoes and say it in a way that will resonate with them the most. If you only look at things from your own perspective of, I need to show up because I have a job to do and I need to get results as quick as possible, and all I really need to do is convince them and persuade them by selling all of the features and highlighting all of the cool things that I can do or that the product can do, you're again disconnecting from the reason why they should care and why they should pick you or your product or service or whatever over somebody else's. And if you're not used to pitching yourself in that way, it can be uncomfortable in the beginning and you're going to have to ease your way in. It's definitely a bumpy road. I've been through it myself and I thought that, oh, well, if I just share content that is highly valuable and educational, obviously people are going to see that I know what I'm talking about and that I have experience. But that doesn't always land the way you think it will, because information is something that anyone can have access to if they look for it hard enough. But your job is to present the information in a way that resonates with the person you're trying to reach. So how do you do that? Well, you think about what are the things they care about and what would make them stop and listen. That's just one example. And there's a lot of overlap between marketing advice and how you market a business, a product, a service, and also how you pitch an idea and present yourself in front of a boardroom or clients or higher ups. There's a lot of overlap. So it can be really helpful to get inspiration from one industry to another. I certainly find a lot of inspiration outside of my own industry and peers, because there's a lot of people who do what I do that have never had to put themselves in these positions or situations or spaces. And so sometimes I feel like I'm navigating on uncharted territory, and I have to like carve my own path. And instead of leaning so heavily on what, has been deeply ingrained in us, which is like information, now all of a sudden I have to like change my communication approach to reach people in a different way, because I'm not in school anymore. And I'm also not in a hospital or a clinical setting. I'm speaking to the internet at large, and I have to narrow things down to a certain segment of the population or demographic or whatever it is. It's the same type of thinking that you need to have no matter the setting. Tying it all together, once you've established the reasons why you care and truly believing in your message and the thing that you're trying to present, then you need to put yourself into your audience's perspective. Think about the things that they care about and how you're going to adjust your delivery and your messaging to match that, to reach them as best as possible. And then once you're in that space and you're interacting with the people you're presenting to, you can start to gauge how they are feeling about what you're saying and the way you're saying it. So when you are face to face with people, even if it's through Zoom, there are certain cues that you can look out for. How well people are paying attention to you, eye contact, or at least eyes on the screen, eyes on you and not on their phone. You can also see if there's head nodding, body language, if there's any yes, right? Any sort of vocal responses and reactions to what you have to say, maybe a hand raise or a clap or a shift in their seat. All of a sudden they're sitting taller or they're crouching closer so that they can hear you better. These are all things that clue you in as to how the message is resonating. On the internet, it's a little bit different. Sometimes you can gauge things based on like views, clicks, likes, saves, comments, DMs, but engagement and interaction comes in all different shapes and sizes. You are going to have to determine the metrics that make most sense to you and your goals and what you're trying to achieve with each piece of content, and the way that you're marketing your business is going to look completely different. We're not going to get into that, but you get the idea.